Hi and welcome everybody. It's that time of the year again, making the best of list. It's fun. This time the best jazz records released in 2024. It was not easy, there were many candidates. Again, 2024, like the previous few years, jazz is really on the rise. Vinyl is on the rise, but jazz albums, new jazz albums, so many are released. It was difficult to pick my best 9 albums. These are some of the albums that didn't make it: Madlib, Stress Killer, Elephant, Radio Hop. I would easily put them in the top 9, but I did not know which to pull out of the 9 records that are already selected. And we start off the list of 2024 with this groove-oriented jazz album released at the beginning of the year. It's Tommaso Cappelato with Explorer. He is an Italian drummer, guessed it by the name. He is living in LA, he's a drummer, and he created an album that really, it is dreamy jazz, it is smooth, it just floats, and it is perfect for winter time. Surprisingly, looking at Discogs, not many people picked it up, only a few. That is really surprising, because this is perfect. Sitting on the couch, sipping a cup of coffee and enjoying the music. And while we are sipping our coffee, it's time to delve into the beautiful lyrical and melodic sounds of the saxophone. Saxophone is made for jazz and relaxing. It is such an instrument that has a unique vibe, and I believe it is one of the last wooden instruments to be invented early of the 1900s. This album by Jasmine Myra, it's called Rising, and it is released on the Gondwana Records label. And people who know the Gondwana record label, it is owned by Matthew Hensel. It is typical of that style. It is touching maybe a little bit on the classical side, although it is fully rooted in the jazz sound. It is really a special album, and I really enjoyed this one. This is her second album. She last year released her debut. This is a beautiful follow-up. It's a kind of modern spiritual music, but Jasmine really makes it her own and gives it her own twist. She has a band that completely understands her and backs her up fully. Enjoy this beautiful album. And on number 7 we have more jazz with a saxophone vibe. Markus Holko, he is Finnish and he released in 2024 the album Eye of the Universe. It's released on Jazz Aggression label from Finland, and if you like Scandinavian jazz, really dig into this label. They have released some beautiful albums. Also they do sometimes a reissue. This year they released the box set of Webster Lewis. That's a unique album to get. But this list is all about new releases. New albums released in 2024, and this album moves from straight ahead jazz to West Coast jazz. Although you sometimes can hear the electric piano, the album really, it has an acoustic vibe that is that beautiful, but I'm saying beautiful a lot, but I will change it to a fantastic jazz sound that is really typical of the Scandinavian jazz, released already early 2000s. You have already this kind of music that is really, I like it very much. I hope you enjoy it also. For number 6, we're staying in Finland. We're moving the soundscape a little bit more in the direction of jazz funk. Jazz funk, I just love that 70s sound. And if you like Herbie Hancock in the 70s, the albums he released, I'm sure you're going to like this one. It is Olli Alfalahti, I hope I pronounced it right, probably not, with Mirror Mirror. He already released music in the 70s and you can hear that in his playing. He's playing, of course, the Fender Rhodes, and the sound he is getting is just right. It is not retro, it is just an updated version of the jazz funk that we love from the 70s. Enjoy this hard grooving album. A jazz pianist that is releasing album after album is Greg Foat. This year alone he released already 4 albums. And none of them are weak, it are all strong albums. For this year's list I picked The Glass Frog as the special one and listed it at number 5. It's released on Blue Crystal Records, his own label. And again, the musicianship is extraordinary. Greg Foat, he is really in a flow in creating beautiful jazz music. On this album you get some familiar names that are by players who are also on previous albums, like Art Thiemann and Trevor Walker in the horn section. You also get some new players, like the drums. The drums are played by Ayo Salawu. He's also playing on this album by Greg Foat, live at the Villa, recorded in Greece. This one also has a very special vibe. Here the bass clarinet is played by Socrates, and that sound of the bass clarinet really gives a completely different vibe to the music. This album is typical Greg Foat. Non-contemporary jazz music, he excels at it. He is, of course, with his toys are in there, where he puts in the synthesizer in the jazz music, he mixes it up with the traditional instruments, and you get that kind of library feel to the music. Enjoy. You hear immediately the amazing sound of the trumpet. The trumpet has such a unique sound. Of course, you have to be very talented to play it and make it sound this beautiful. Playing is Seffi Sefling on the album The Librarian. I don't think many people have heard this album. It's flying a little bit under the radar. It's called The Librarian because he is really tapping into the music that he loved as he was growing up and that he's probably still liking. So he's picking and choosing the music that is really in his collection, probably, hope it is a vinyl collection, and he's recreating that music. And he's playing it live with his quartet, and that is giving the music a really warm feel. And now we're entering the top 3. The 3 best jazz albums of 2024. And on number 3 we have the album by Jeff Parker, The Way Out of Easy. And it's a special album. It was released freshly in November, and the more I spin it, the more I like it. Because when I put together this list, it was at number 9. I just wanted to include it as there was something special about the album. But before I knew it, I put it on number 5, and now it is on number 3. It is that good. It is a double album with 4 long tracks. The tracks range from 15 minutes to 22 minutes. And that is part the magic of this album, because it's improvisational music that is created on the spot by musicians that are a tight group. Their interplay is just amazing. And the foundation of the music is of course the bass and the drums. The bass is played by Anna Butters and the drums by Jay Bellerose. And then you have the sax of Jeff Johnson. That's creating the melody. It's lyrical, it moves in a certain direction. And then of course you have Jeff Parker. Maybe not the right way to say it, but he moves everywhere, in every direction. Then he's part of the melody, then he's part of the bass section, and he plays under the melody, over the melody, somewhere in between. His touch to the music really puts everything together, and it is the spice of the music that you're listening to. The liner notes on the album are by the recording engineer, and it mentions something special. It mentions how he wanted to create the music he was hearing live at the venue, and he wanted to recreate that on the album. And he was of course successful because it sounds beautiful, and he wanted to grab back to the old days, but he did not want to do it in the old way. So he did it more by basics. He recorded it with very little instruments, and the music he recorded it with 4 mics. And I think in that way he was able to capture the sound that he was hearing. Enjoy. An album with similar qualities as the previous one is this album by the septet of Misha Panfilov, To the Mesosphere and Beyond. It's something special. This is Misha Panfilov at his jazziest, and when he is in this mood, he is able to create something special. And it feels like you're there, that you're there with the musicians, and it has to do also something like the previous album in the way they record it. I think they use a minimum of instruments, a minimum of microphones to create something where the equipment just disappears and you can really feel the interaction between the players. It is a septet, so you get a lot more instruments as on the previous album, but the way it is coordinated and the freedom they give each other, it really is something special. And again, this is an album where there are only 2 tracks, 1 track on each side of the album. So the music has room to breathe, to expand, to go in certain directions. And it moves from one place to another. It doesn't have to come back, it just floats on. And it's a beautiful way that the music sucks you into its own world and helps you escape this sometimes a little bit depressing world. And now, the number 1 jazz album of 2024, my personal favorite. And maybe you're wondering, how is it possible to top the 2 previous albums, which were already top-notch quality jazz albums? You have to be a little bit biased, and I am. This is an album created in my home country, the Netherlands. You're listening to Reinier Baas on guitar and Ben van Gelder on the saxophone. And together they have created an outstanding jazz album. and I hope many people will discover it and learn about it, because this is jazz just the way you like it. Unpredictable, challenging, and on the other hand, beautiful and melodic. There's even a guest appearance by Han Benink. Many of you, I guess, know him as the free jazz drummer in the beginning of the 70s. And this is really an album that you can listen to again and again. My number 1 in 2024.